Hey guys, so in the last video we talked about appending and printing out our list. In this video we're going to talk about prepending. And so what the concept is if we have a list that holds A, B, C, D, D and that points to none. What we want to do is if we call the prepend function with a value of say E, we want our new list to look like this, except we're going to have an E pointing and the node of holding the value of E at the very front. And so it's kind of similar to our append function because we want to handle for two cases. One case if the list is empty, and handle list is not empty. And so just like we did in our append function, we're going to start off by creating a new node with our data because this is a chain of nodes, and so we want to make sure we prepend with a node and not anything else. And so once we've created our node object, we want to handle for if the list is empty. So if the list is empty, we know there is not a self.head because a self.head would be none. And so if the self.head, if not self.head, we're going to say self.head is equal to the new node, and we're going to say we're just going to return right there because that's going to add our node to I'm just going to add our node as the very first node, and we're not really prepending to anything because there was never anything to begin with. But if the list is not empty, what we want to say is we're going to say the old head is equal to self.head, right? So we're taking the first node right now, and we're going to save that into another variable called old head. And so in this case, using our example over here, our old head was the node that held the value A. And one thing you want to understand is even though this is just the first node, I like to think of it as almost like a chain because this node then points to the node that holds B, right? And then it points to the node that holds C. And so even though this is just one node, I like to think of it as sort of a chain that comes after the first node. But more technically, this old head is going to be holding the first node, which is A. Now what we're saying is we want to make our self.head equal to the new node, right? Because if we're prepending, that means this new node is going to be at the front, and whenever we're looping through, we want to print this first, and so we want to make sure that we know that this is the head value and this is the first node, and so self.head is going to be equal to this new node. And so now that we've done that, what we want to say is that self.head.next, right? Because since this was a new node, the next value was none. But what we want to do is we want to make the next value of this that old head which held the node of A. And so we're just going to say self.head.next is equal to the old head, right? And the reason I said this stuff about the chain before was because even though this is pointing to the old head, which is just one node, this one node then points to another node, which then points to another node, and so on until you reach to none. And so it's almost like moving the chain down and placing a new node at the very front. And so conceptually, this made a little more sense to me, and this helped me understand this concept a little better when I learned it the first time. And so now that we've done that, that's all we need to do, right? Because we've handled for both cases. If it's empty, we're just saying the self.head is equal to the new node. If it's not empty, all we're saying is we're saving what the old head was. We're reinitializing the new node as the head value, and then we're saying that the next element of that new head is going to be equal to that old head that we saved earlier. And so this moves the chain down, places the new node as a head, and that's our new list. And so, and one thing to also note is this very last node is still going to hold the next value of this last node is still going to be none. And so we don't have to do anything about that. So when you print it out, it's just going to print out our new node first and then print out the rest of that the rest of that list. And so if we print this, what I'm going to do is I'll delete this. First, I'll print our list by appending the 3 functions, but not appending 3 functions, by appending 3 new nodes. So if we print this out, sorry, if you print this out, we have ABC. But now if we prepend with a new node that holds the data value of D, it should be at the very front. And if we do that, there it is. Our D is at the front. And so, like I said before, save our old head, which was the node that held the value A, and this A pointed to the B, which pointed to the C, which pointed to none. And so, since we saved that, we reinitialize the head to the new node, because that's the very first node now. That's the start of the list. And then we said the next value, or the next element of that new node, or the new head, is now the old head. And so when we loop through, we loop through the new node, and then loop through the rest of the chain. And so just to make sure this piece of code works, all I'll do is comment out these 3, run this, and there it is. We just have a D because there was no nodes to begin with, so we weren't really prepending to anything. So all we have to do is set our head value to the new node that we created. And so that is prepending, and make sure you guys try to practice it, and hope to see you guys in the next video.